Let's start by setting up the requirements for our front-end application. First, we'll need to install the IDE. For this case, I will be using the VS Code. VS Code is simple and free IDE, which offers everything we need. So you can simply download it from here and install. I will not go through the installation process as it's just mostly pressing the next button. The next step after the VS Code is installed is to install the Node.js. Node.js contains also the npm, which is the package manager through which we can download different libraries for our project. I recommend downloading always the LTS version, which is latest stable release, which currently is 12.16.3. I have it already installed, so I will not go through the installation process, but it's mostly clicking the next button. After everything is installed, we can open the VS Code application. In the beginning, you are welcome with this welcome screen. There is also a neat trick which you can do just by dragging up from the bottom a terminal. So in this way you have access to the terminal. But in any case you can always go to view and click terminal if you want to hide or show it. Just to verify that our npm was installed successfully, we can run npm-v and check the version of it. In case you would get error saying unrecognized command, that means you have to install the Node.js with the npm, that it was not installed successfully. After it was installed, restart the terminal and try npm-v again. In the terminal we can also run on Windows CLS command, which will clear the screen just for more readability. For people who are not familiar with VS Code, on the left side we can see the Project Explorer, where we'll have all the files. Underneath there is a search, which allows us to search throughout our files, and then these blocks, these are extensions. Because our project will be written in Angular, I highly recommend to install Angular Essentials from John Papa. It also installs different extensions, which makes development much easier. First step is to create an empty folder, which I just created inside my projects and called it Blockchain Poll. Now we can open this folder in our Visual Studio Code. We go to File and Open Folder and select our folder. Click select and VS Code refreshes, and now we can see we are in the folder called Blockchain Poll. We can also close the welcome screen, we don't need that. The next step is to install Angular CLI. Because our project will be in the Angular, we will also, with the help of CLI, make some work easier. We can just copy paste this command in our terminal. Now that we have installed Angular CLI, we can generate a new project just by typing ng-new, the name of the project, which we called Blockchain Poll. And then we'll also type --directory // which means it will generate a new project in this current directory and it will not create a new folder. In case you are using PowerShell like me, you might get this error. In order to fix it, you need to delete this file, which means you go to C, users, your username and appdata. In case you would not see appdata because it's hidden folder, just go to view and check hidden items, then all hidden items will be visible as well. Go inside, roaming, npm and delete ng bs1. Now we can just run the command again and it will ask you if you want routing, we say no, and what style sheet we are going to use. It doesn't matter actually, but we can choose SCSS because styling is not point of this course, so we want something which is already prepared. And then we wait until the project is being generated. After it has been generated, we can see folder structure similar to this one, which I will not go into the details because this is Angular specific structure. I will just explain the things which we need, but just so you have an overview, first folder is for end-to-end tests, the node modules is all the libraries which are needed, and we will install some more. The source is the source code, and then we have some configuration files for testing, TypeScript, Angular itself, and so on. We'll be working mostly in the source folder inside the app, where the actual app files resides, the HTML, styling and the components. But just to verify that we can run the app, we can write npm start, which will serve our application on port 4200. After it has been compiled, usually the first time it's the longest, then we can open browser and go to localhost 4200 and see that actually our blockchain app is running. This is the default HTML template. But what we can do, we can go back, go to app.component.html, which is the main component, delete everything as we don't need it, and just to test it out we can write h1 hello world. We save We can see our app has been compiled successfully. We go back to the browser and we can see the template is gone and we just have clean slate to start with. One more tip, which I also highly recommend, doesn't matter which framework you use, Angular, React, Vue, or nothing at all. There is one very good extension, which is called Prettier, which I have also installed. You can see it right in this corner. The Prettier is checked and it's formatting your code, adding semicolons, removing multiple empty lines and so on. So I recommend going to extensions, typing Prettier and installing it. But after it has been installed, you can just click Ctrl P, which is how you search in the Visual Studio Code, type the more than symbol and write settings and click preferences, open user settings. Here you can define different user settings, but what I recommend is to set autosave to after delay and 2 seconds. After that we hit Ctrl P again, the more than sign and write open settings and we choose this preferences open settings JSON. And make sure that this editor format on save is true. When it is, then every time that we save, the Prettier will run and format our code. Example can be seen here. If I divide this into 2 lines and enter multiple lines and then I hit Ctrl Save, it's been automatically saved and formatted as well. So this is extension which I highly recommend, and also choosing these settings. And one last thing is to install a Bootstrap, because we also want to have some visuals. In order to do so, we can just Google for Bootstrap and go to their page. Bootstrap is basically a collection of CSS classes which are already prepared and ready to use. We have 2 options how to do this. We can either install it through the npm and include it in our Angular build, or we can just use the CDN. I will show you 2 options so you know both. The easiest option is to go to download, scroll down to CDN, which is Bootstrap CDN, copy these 2 links, go back to our project, go to main index HTML file over here and paste the links inside the head, such as we can paste it just right here. We save, they get formatted, and just to make sure that it works, we can go back to Bootstrap, go to components, pick any component we want. Let's say we want a button, and we take this button primary, which should be this blue one. We go back to the project, go to our app component, paste the button here, save, and check if it works. And we can see indeed the button gets the styling and everything. So the Bootstrap is installed. The another more proper way is to install the Bootstrap through npm. So you can go to Bootstrap, home, download, and write the npm install Bootstrap in your VS Code. You can just split the terminals and paste the command here. After the Bootstrap is installed, we need to go to Angular JSON file. We go to architect build, and inside the styles array, we need to point to Bootstrap, which has been installed in the node modules. And inside the scripts, we need to include the Bootstrap JavaScript file. This way we can now remove the 2 links which we pasted in the head of our main HTML file. We need to also make sure that we restart our build so it will pick up the new files which we included. After it's been compiled successfully, we can go back and verify that it's still there. So now we have installed successfully the Bootstrap. And I think that with our Angular project set up, we are ready to get started.